Thank you. Apologies this morning for the late start due to IT issues. I'd like to welcome everybody to the meeting. Can I start off with introducing the top table? We've got Vice Convener, Councillor Liz Barrett, on my far left. Barbara Renton, Executive Director of Communities, on my left side. And on my right side, we have Adam Taylor from Committee Services. At the main table, we also have Richard Oram, who's from the Climate Change Commission, who is joining us as well. I'll now ask Adam to confirm any apologies and take a roll call. Thank you.
Thanks, Convener. I've received no formal apologies for the performance, but due to the technical difficulties, the fact that most are online, I'll just go down the list and just get you to confirm whether you can actually and that you're actually with us. So, Councillor Anderson.
All right.
Councillor Barrett, you're in the room here. Fine. Councillor Cuthbert.
Present.
Councillor Illingworth.
Present.
Councillor Kogali.
Yeah, I'm here.
Councillor Lang.
Present.
Councillor McEwen.
Present.
Councillor Reid. I think Councillor Reid's having some technical difficulties hearing us, so
he says he can't hear the meeting
yeah,
now.
We'll try and get that sorted. Councillor Grant Stewart.
Present.
Councillor Waters, you're here, and Councillor Welsh.
Present.
Thank you. Thank you, that's everybody.
No, it says he's getting an echo. Are we all on silent?
No. Yeah.
Thank you, Adam. Just to remind councillors and officers joining us virtually to use the chat box to attract my attention, and those present in the room can just raise their hand. Can I just ask if there's any declaration of interest in respect of the paper today? Thank you. No declaration of interest. I'll take silence as being we're all clear with that. Can I ask the first paper is our only paper, Flood Risk Management Scotland Act 2009, publication of final report for cycle 1 and local flood risk management plans for cycle 2. We previously had an introduction to this paper at the last committee. If I can just ask if members can, as far as possible, try and keep this to the papers. Most of all the individual reports have been through and been scrutinised before. I do understand that there will be members that are new that have not been in committees when they have come forward. If I can, as the email sent out, if you can just contact Peter Dixon with any local issues, and we can just keep to the businesses at hand for expediency. Can I just ask Barbara Renton to introduce the report?
Thank you, Convener, and good morning, elected members. The Council's duties with regard to flooding are set out within the Flood Risk Management Scotland Act 2009. The Council published its first local flood risk management plans in June 2016, and interim progress reports were made in March 2019. This report provides an update on last year's national public consultation on flood risk management and the publication of SEPA's flood risk management plans in December last year. The report also seeks the committee's approval of the content of the final reports and the progress made over the last 6 years and the proposed local flood risk management plans for the next 6 years. The committee therefore has 8 documents to consider this morning, and these documents are required to be published by the 31st December this year. So thank you, elected members, for agreeing to this special committee to allow us to be able to do that. As required by the Flood Act, this forms a long-term strategy based on tackling the areas where flood risk is at its highest and where investment provides the greatest benefit. The team are more than happy to answer.
Thank you, Barbara. Do we have any questions from members? Councillor Cuthbert, a question?
Yeah, thank you, Convener. It's relating to the to Drum and the flooding that takes place in Drum. I notice it's not a potentially vulnerable area, but the issue was raised at the planning committee recently, and I was wondering if anything further was going to be done given the flooding in the area.
Peter Dixon?
Morning, Convener. Thank you. Councillor Cuthbert, thanks for the question. Yeah, I think as you said, Drum isn't part of a potentially vulnerable area, so it's not considered to be in one of those areas the highest flood risk. And what the approach is to those areas that are out with the PVAs is just the general actions that have been set out in the flood risk management plan. That's typically things like maintenance, awareness raising, self-help. You mentioned planning, trying to use the planning process so that new development is not put at risk of flooding or increases flood risk elsewhere. So if you look in I think it's Appendix G of the committee report, you'll see the Tay flood risk management plan set out and the sort of earlier sections in that set out all those general actions that are intended to manage flood risk right across Perth and Kinross with those PVAs.
Thank you, Peter. I have no further questions coming up. I'll give it just a few minutes. No further questions?
Councillor Anderson has a question.
Yeah,
Thank you. Councillor Anderson, you have a question?
I was just looking at page 43, which is the index of all the contents as such. And I was looking at for Scone, page 55. Must be on the right hand side, page 55, but there's nothing to mention Scone on page 55. Am I looking at the wrong numbers to find something? There's no mention on page 55 Scone in any way or form. And it's 55 to 58 is Scone, is it? If I'm looking at the right numbers. PVA 0811 3.2.11, page 55.
Could the problem be that the pages are numbered right from the start of the document? And
The bottom page, yeah.
Yeah, and the pages are not. Number 55 would be from the starting from the appendix.
You need to go to 3.2. It'll be 55 in chapters, I think. So if you,
I just wondered what page then it's at.
Hold on,
We'll find
Councillor Anderson. So it's on page 98 of the document.
Do you have any subsequent question, Councillor Anderson, on that?
Once I find it. Page 98.
No, 98, yep.
It's just the anti-burn. Yeah, that mentions Scone, yeah. And that's the one that the £30,000 was deferred till next year, is it?
Peter, do you just want to do a general update on Schoon?
Yeah, you find there's actually an update in the TAE final report, which I think Barbara Renton's just referred you to, Councillor Anderson. There's also a section in the TAE flood risk management plan looking forward. We can maybe dig out the page reference for you, been there somewhere. I've sent you an email actually separately, just pointing you towards the correct sections. In terms of Schoon itself, the final report sets out that back in 2016, the flood studies we'd set out for Schoon were sort of at the back end of the 6-year period. And due to various delays with things like COVID and flood events, those projects were just kind of slipped out the back end of the plan. But they'll be some of the first projects we'll be picking up as part of the new flood risk management plan. So there's a flood study for Schoon looking at surface water flooding in the area. It's going to look at the Barrel Drain, which passes down the sort of main streets in Schoon. There'll be a surface water management plan set up as well. And there's also a small scheme proposed for the anti-burn. And we'll be kicking off on those projects hopefully before the end of this financial year. So we've not forgotten about them, they're still in there, and we'll be taking them forward soon.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
And there's further reference to Councillor Anderson in page 5.7 of the report.
Starts on 2.5.
Starts on 256.
Okay.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
Barbara, for I noticed no other question. I noticed Councillor Cuthbert's typing something just now. Which is relevant. Okay.
It's a comment I was going to make.
Do you want to make a comment, Councillor Cuthbert?
If I may, yes. I've basically got two comments. The first of one is my own personal one, which is it's a huge piece of work.
Sorry. Right here, I need to be first coming in a comment, Councillor. That's okay.
Yes, fine.
Okay. Any other questions? No further questions. I will move the paper. Scotland has adopted a new approach to manage the risk of flooding. To better plan and coordinate action on this, the Council is working closely with other public bodies to implement national and local plans. We are now at the end point of the first 6-year cycle set out in the legislation, and this report provides an assessment of the progress made since 2016 and the local plans tackling flooding up to 2028. Proposed local plans were subject of a national public consultation exercise in 2021 and are consistent with SEPA's published plans. Can't ignore the recent flooding that has occurred in many parts of our community. The publication of our local plans form part of a long-term national programme of work intended to help our communities adapt to the climate change that is set to increase the risk of flooding in the future. As a society, we need to take action to manage the risk of flooding and its impact on our lives, while recognising that the risk can't ever be removed entirely. This plan takes our knowledge and understanding of flooding and the impacts of climate change and turns it into a set of actions that are planned and coordinated to tackle the risk of flooding in the community at risk. And I ask Councillor Liz Barrett to second.
I second the report.
And comments now, Councillor Cuthbert?
Thank you, convener. Yes, as I said, I've got two comments. The first one is of my own. I just wanted to congratulate the flooding team for all the hard work. It's a huge document and took me hours to read, and it's very comprehensive. So I think it's excellent to see it coming forward. The second comment is from Councillor Stewart. He did ask to be a deputation, but he's not well enough to speak today. And the point he wanted to make was that he feels that we're underestimating the number of flooding events and the effects that they have on anxiety for residents, and that in 1 in 200 year events, and often now 1 in 2 years, And we need to take more seriously as a local authority flooding and make sure our planning policies are matched to the work needed. That was from Councillor Stewart. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cuthbert. Councillor Ellenworth, do you have a comment?
Thank you, convener. In my ward, in the last couple of years, there's been flooding incidents in Medford, Fogan Denny, Bridge of Erne and Abernethy, all over the place. And I'd like to thank Peter Dixon and his team for all the efforts they put into resolving those issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ellenworth. Councillor Lane?
Yeah, thanks, convener. Yeah, I'd like to thank the officers for all the work that they've done on this report. And it certainly does make interesting reading, and obviously as a whole, and especially for areas that's within our wards, we'll have specific interest in. I'd also like to thank for the long briefing session we had. I don't mean long in a bad term. I found it very useful, and it was well worthwhile attending too. I think the reason we're all talking about flood risk management, and we're increasing to talk about it, is the increase in these flooding events that we're going to experience right across the local authority. And for me, it shows why this council took the forward step of creating a climate change and sustainability committee to do our bit and try and help to mitigate all the events that climate change is having an effect on. So yeah, it's a reminder of why we have this committee and what we're trying to do, because climate change and flooding, I think, is inextricably linked. So I just thought that's the comment I'd like to make on this paper. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Lane. If there's no more comments, and I agree with all the comments that this is something that will increase, you know, and flooding and the intensity and more higher frequency of these storms, and you know, a flooding team job to try and deal with the emergency, trying to move forward with mitigation effects of flooding. That note, I will be happy to agree the recommendations of the report.
Agreed.
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 And I can close.
Agreed.
And I can close the meeting now. Have a good day, everybody. Thank you for attending.